than we received. Texas, for whatever reason, for its success and how Texas does punch above its weight, received $71.1 billion more from the federal government than we received. But I'll tell you what, as a taxpayer, as governor of California, I am proud to stand tall to help them recover from these floods. No conditions, no politics. We're all in this together. I was proud to send search and rescue teams to support the recovery of those floods. That's my responsibility. That's what it's like to be a member of a community. We're all in this together. The idea that we're even conditioning aid and allowing that conversation to persist, that's what's at stake with this conversation. It's not about lines, it's about drawing a line, and it's all about elevating a deeper consciousness of the line that Donald Trump continues to cross. It's not about him playing by a different set of rules. There are no rules for Donald Trump. This is a serious moment in American history. And so we are here to meet this moment head on. And we look forward to a successful campaign, and we look forward to continuing to do what we can to have the backs of these courageous leaders who are back here in the state of California, sharing their voice as we share their action and passion at peril that this democracy may not live. With that, we're here to answer any questions. Yeah, we'll sue. I mean, this is a separate topic, but it's not necessarily disconnected from this topic. Donald Trump today is trying to silence academic freedom. He's attacking one of the most important public institutions in the United States of America, one of the finest institutions for higher learning in the world, one of the great research institutions in this country, one of the reasons California is the tentpole of the U.S. economy, one of the reasons we have more scientists, engineers, more Nobel laureates than any other state in this nation. He has threatened us through extortion with $1 billion fine unless we do his bidding. So as long as I'm governor, I will stand tall and push back against that. And I believe every member of California legislature feels the same way. We will not be complicit in this kind of attack on academic freedom on this extraordinary public institution. We are not like some of those other institutions that have followed a different path.
Governor, given the timeline that you've mentioned on the special election, it sounds like the California legislature will have 5 days to basically set the election. When will the maps be released to give the public ample time to at least review them?
Well, that's a question for all of our folks here, but bottom line, it's going to be in their ballot box. It's going to be on their ballot. So it's about as transparent as it gets. I have not been privy to the map. I'm mapping out a strategy to make this successful. I have not looked at any maps. I told you that yesterday, told you that last week, and that continues to be the case today. As it relates to that map and that process that's going through. By the way, it's very transparent because these are familiar maps. The independent redistricting has taken over 10,000 hours of testimony and public comment over the years, and they've bandied about many of these maps that have been seen before. So it's a very familiar process. It's not a very complicated process. It may appear to be, but it's not. But the process we want to make very transparent, and that's the idea of putting the maps on the ballot. And that was something for me was a red line. And it's something that I think is foundational in terms of this effort.
So does it not matter what people think in the 5 days that the legislature has the time? I mean, this is for really legislative leaders. Is 5 days an adequate enough time for the public to review what you will present to them on the ballot?
So I can tell you this, Ashley, that maps we anticipate will be available next week. Our work began with the work that was already done, as the governor just mentioned, by our independent redistricting commission. Once these maps are released, voters will have the opportunity to digest these maps, review them for weeks and months leading to this election. If there is another state with a more transparent process where voters will get the ultimate say in these new maps, please let me know what it is, or if there's a state doing it, because we are going above and beyond to ensure that, one, we are protecting the Voting Rights Act, and that we are sending the voices of our most vulnerable to Washington, D.C. But when it comes to the maps, we anticipate these maps to be available next week.
Governor, I have a question. How can you guarantee to Californians this will be a one-time exception with the Independent Redistricting Commission? If you're in a gerrymandering arms race, what makes you confident this is the only time you'll ask them?
Well, I'd say we want to do it for the 26, 28, and 30 ballots, just for congressional representatives alone. We want to provide that opportunity to the voters. They'll make that decision, and they'll decide that direction. We want to maintain the framework of the Independent Redistricting Commission, which I've long supported. We believe, as Zoe Lofgren believes, as the author of the legislation that only Democrats signed. I'll repeat that because it needs to be repeated. The Democratic Party is on record supporting national independent redistricting. The Democratic Party is on record. The Republican Party is nowhere to be found on that. But we're not going to unilaterally disarm in the state of California. We tried to lead by example with the Independent Redistricting Commission. And we are looking at temporary measures. And that is my intent, and that is the direction that ultimately will be made by the public.
I have a question for the Texas reps. What's your reaction to your Attorney General suing you guys today for leaving the state?
I mean, it just follows the long line of threats, right? I mean, we can tell they're desperate. I mean, they are throwing everything at us that they can. The loss of leadership, the financial ruin, the threats that they are putting out into their group. And then, of course, my colleague here, they have filed litigation to try to vacate seats. They are trying to overturn the will of the electorate before a time as said, because they are afraid of the voters. Not only do they want to take out 5 congressional seats and steal them, they now want to take out the representatives that are actually standing up against them attempting to rig the next election cycle. Duly elected representatives out of Texas that have elected us to be here today to break quorum per our Constitution because we know that the majority has gone off the rails.
I'm State Representative Gina Hinojosa, and I'm one of the legislators in Texas who is facing a threat by our Attorney General to be removed. You should know, just 2 days ago I checked in with my office. We had 700 calls on this bill proposing a new map that hasn't even been out a week for the public to see. 4 were opposed. The rest were all in support of my breaking quorum. I'm doing exactly what my constituents want, and it is shameful for our governor or for our attorney general to try to remove a duly elected representative of the people from office, but it is in keeping with what is happening in this grander scheme of these Trump maps to try to rig the 2026 midterms.
The response to Governor Abbott saying he'll continue to call special sessions until you return.
So that's his decision. That's the benefit of who you elect for governor. We are breaking and doing everything we can to break this quorum. We have 137 at least. We are missing 2 more individuals out of Central Texas. We have been there for 2 weeks waiting to address that issue. They only put 1 bill up for us to debate in the House, and it was redistricting. We have an arrest warrant for us to go back to Texas for 1 bill only. They don't want us to come back for flooding. They are using those families as a distraction. The governor can write a check right now to try to start the process. And so it's his decision what's valuable to him. Does he want to have us come back and address flooding, to address the issue of school testing, to address human trafficking, to address the infrastructure in our courts? We will gladly show up. So you're going to find out, the people of Texas, who he plays for. Is he going to call us back for you, or is he going to call us back to do Trump's bidding?
Are you prepared to stay out of the state through even the filing deadline in December, if that's what it takes to stop a redraw for the 2026 map?
So we take this fight one day at a time. We fight to win today, and tomorrow we assess and take it on. Then I'm reminded of a quote by one of our wonderful governors of the past, Ann Richards, and she said, "The here and now is all we have, and if we play it right, it's all we need." And that is what is happening here today. We're about to play it right. Thank you.
Question for the governor. If California redraws districts for Democrats to try to pick up 5 seats, that would only cancel out what Texas is doing, but Republican-led states including Florida, Ohio, Missouri, and Indiana will or are considering redrawing their own lines, and Democrats don't control enough states or have enough districts to pick up to counter that. So given that math, why go through with trying to bypass the independent redistricting?
Well, these guys are ruthless on the other side, so I concur. That said, we can control. It's not what happens, it's what we do in response to what happens. Here's what we can do in response. There's other states that can act not dissimilarly to California, but none can act, I guess, with the scale and scope that we can. So that would be my response. It's always the right thing to do the right thing. It's always the right time to do the right thing. And our response is what we can control, and we can encourage others through the power of emulation to consider the approach that we've taken based upon their unique circumstances. Most states don't have independent redistricting. Many states have supermajorities in their legislature. There are a number of other states, as you know, that are considering democratically led states and not just Republican-led states that are considering similar actions, but we're not going to unilaterally disarm. We're not going to allow them to roll us over, and at least we will have the power of expressing ourselves very powerfully that everything they did in Texas, all the fire and fury, signified nothing. That we neutralized it. We nullified that. We don't move unless they move. This is triggered. They drew first blood. We're responding to this action. And this is how we choose to respond, and I hope other governors and other leaders across the country do the same.
Last question. In a hypothetical, if it is triggered and voters do not approve it, is there a backup plan? Is there a plan B if Texas moves?
I think the voters will approve it. I think the voters understand what's at stake. Look, I'm not naive. We live in the most un-Trump state in America. And I think people understand, boy, do they understand, intimately understand what's at stake with Donald Trump. What more evidence you need today, a couple days ago, with a Penske truck where people just jumped out, racially profiling people. Look at what just happened, UCLA. What more evidence do we need? And so I think I have all the confidence in the world in the wisdom of the voters of this great state. And I'm not just talking about Democrats. I'm not just talking about independents. We believe in independent redistricting. That will be on the ballot. We believe it should be nationalized. That will be on the ballot. We have the opportunity to send a message enough, and I believe Republicans, not just Democrats and independents, will meet that call, and we will overwhelmingly support this change.
Governor,
Thank you. We're out of time.
So 6 months
Thank you,
ago,
guys.
Thank you.